Every year, during summer vacation, my parents sent me to stay with my grandparents in southeastern Missouri. You may not think that a kid born and raised in Pasadena, California, would find any enjoyment in that part of the country, but those summers were paradise for me. My father grew up in Washington State, and my mother was a small-town girl from Grayford, Missouri, where my grandparents owned a small house in the woods outside town limits. They both grew up playing in the woods as children and thought that their only son should have that same chance to explore and wander that they did. With not many options for that in LA County, I got to live with my grandparents for the first half of summer vacation. Those sweaty, humid days spent running through the verdant woods, fishing in a small creek bordering my grandparents' property, and building forts while defending them from all manner of imagined enemies shaped my entire childhood. My grandparents gave me almost complete freedom after my chores were done. After completing simple tasks around the house, I was free to run and jump and swim and climb the rest of the day, until I heard the first cicadas of evening begin their screeching. That was one of the only hard rules my grandparents had. Come home as soon as you hear the first cicadas in the evening, stay in the house after dark, and if they got too loud, I could turn on my TV for some background noise. But I always needed to stay in my room after bedtime. The alarm clock sound would ring out every day around dusk, signaling it was time to return home. And I always tried to see how fast I could make it back before the sounds became so loud I couldn't think. It was more of a game than anything else. A man versus nature battle of speed against sound. I almost always won. I would run inside and flop down on the couch, panting as Grandpa locked the door and Grandma drew the frilly floral curtains closed over the windows. After dinner, we'd watch a movie and I'd help with the dishes. Then I would go off to bed. Only a few times did I have to turn the TV on because of the sound. One of these nights, on the way to the TV, I heard Grandpa walking out of his room and down the stairs. At breakfast, he seemed a lot more tired than usual, and he yelled at Grandma, something I'd never seen him do before, nor since. I guess that's why it stuck with me all these years. When you're a kid, nothing scares you more than a loved one acting so out of character in a frightening manner. A year or so later, I was trying to describe to my friends at school my routine in Missouri. All of the kids I knew were very much products of their environment. They thought I was a full-blown redneck since I spent my summers in the South, despite my father owning a talent agency in Los Angeles and our house in Eaton Canyon paid for by my mother's modeling career. They didn't even know what a cicada sounded like. I pulled up a video to show them one time. As it played, I grew puzzled and chose a different video. As the confusion in me grew, I played video after video of cicada sounds. None of those sounds were what I'd grown up hearing. The next May, I paid extra attention to the song. Everything about it was wrong. It sounded like a person's imitation of a cicada, but dozens of them simultaneously from the trees. When I asked my grandparents about it, they just brushed it off as a different species than the one in the videos I watched during that previous fall. With a childlike naivety, I accepted that answer at the time. Over the course of that summer, I grew more and more accustomed to the sound until it was no longer a source of fear for me. By the end of June, it was business as usual as far as I was concerned. Around mid-July, our part of the country was due for a meteor shower. It was touted on the news as this huge, once-in-a-lifetime astronomical event. I begged my grandparents to let me go out to watch it. I told them about this large rock I'd found out in the woods that would make a perfect seat for this celestial dance. I told them that I would get all of my chores done early so I could take a long nap and hike out around sunset to my rock. And I could even be back before morning. I begged and pleaded, but they refused, saying that it was way too dangerous for my 13-year-old self to be so far out in the woods at night. It was hard not to reason with their logic, but I was a bit rebellious back then, so I resolved to sneak out after they went to sleep and be back before they awoke. Besides, my friends snuck out all the time, I rationalized, and I wasn't going to party or drink or anything like that. So, the night of the shower, I packed a flashlight, blanket, and some snacks, and waited for the sounds of my grandparents' nightly routine to begin. After I heard their door close, I waited for another half hour or so. When I decided enough time had passed, I slipped out through my window. I remember thinking, good thing the sea